All right, cool. This thing is telling me we're live. Are we live?
We are live. I'm gonna send you the link in the chat, so if you want to share it with everyone.
Yeah. I got Twitter queued up right here, so just send me the link. I'll share it out. Sure. Oh, not on the Zoom chat. Send it to me on the Telegram.
Telegram, okay.
Different computer here.
I think your kid just found out we're live too.
He did. He's like, oh, they're live. Let me make some noise.
Is it a boy or a girl?
Boy.
Then he's pretty pumped up. What was your walk-up song?
Oh, what? Sorry, what now?
Your favorite walk-up song?
Walk-up song. Daft Punk. Random Access Memories. I've been listening to this album nonstop lately, and I don't know why. It just keeps going over and over again.
You know, it's funny. There's songs that I do that with myself, and I just burn out on them after a while.
Yeah. I actually have something that I'm trying to save this anyways, but this is a hard drive that I pulled out of an old computer, 2005 or something like that, and it has like 100 gigabytes of music. Back in the days when I used to go collect MP4s, and I'm really like I bought this whole kit and it's just not working. It's just like tick tick tick, actually connecting to my computer. A bit frustrated because Spotify just and YouTube obviously. I mean they don't have everything, and certainly it would be nice to have access to all my old playlists and stuff like that. But
it's crazy how they take away that old age technology and almost make it unusable.
Yeah, exactly. So that was now that I got this new computer, I wanted to hook it up, and I'm just wondering if I'm going to be able to do that or not.
So what's your favorite random access memory song from Daft Punk? Give life back to music.
Yeah, go with the first one. I don't, I listened to the whole album. I've also been listening to Fungal and Grateful Dead and all kind of classic rock.
This has got a good feel to it.
Yeah, it's very poppy, and I like it because I can just gives me focus, especially when there's a lot of noise around. I'll put the headphones on and turn up the volume.
Oh, I got to tell you, these wireless headphones, it's so good to like get into your own world and just get all the background music out of your life.
Yeah, here I got my headphones on right now, so they're nice noise canceling device.
I'm gonna take the song. I think the song might be my next addiction for a while.
Yeah, it's not the song; it's the whole album. It just keeps going, man.
It's good. All right, YouTube only gives me about 30 seconds before the YouTube police starts sending me all kinds of cease and desist.
You have violated something.
I started doing the walk-up music, and literally all the videos I get, like, no, you can't do this. You can't do it. We got caught by this group and that group. I'm like, how do they catch you so quick? It's got to be some software.
Who knows, man? I mean, I've been using YouTube less and less and less lately. I mean, I've been kind of pissed off about the censorship issues. I mean, especially within the crypto community. I mean, seeing stuff like, when they just go ahead and pull all of those videos from different YouTubers. But on the other hand, and it occurred to me the other day, is that YouTube has probably been the #1 onboarding platform for crypto. I mean, like hands down. I mean, more people come through. I don't watch that many videos, but people do, and that's like, people have hundreds of thousands of subscribers on YouTube, and those views add up. So
Well,
I
Bob
mean,
Spalding does a great job. So does Pomp. I mean,
yeah.
there's some guys that have really done a great job of sharing and educating people.
Andreas Antonopoulos has an entire freaking library, man. I mean, that's all on YouTube. And so we got to be thankful to them for, um, for the platform that they're providing. I mean, yeah, there's some stuff some decisions that they take that kind of completely suck, and these are the pitfalls of a decentralized system. And it's kind of the same as the central bank, right? I mean, 2008 they saved everybody, right? They bailed out. It wasn't a very popular move, but bailing out those banks, it kind of put the whole financial system back on its back on the table,
Man,
where it was about to fall off, fall apart.
how nobody on Wall Street went to jail for the epic. Did you ever see the movie The Big Short?
Yeah, of course. I actually believe, Chris, that movie was single-handedly responsible for Bitcoin's 2017 bull run.
It's funny. Okay, so I got to tell you this.
I'm pretty sure like that was the mindset. The movie came out in 2015, and that was the mindset that put people into the Bitcoin craze in 2017. I'm pretty sure of it.
Did that come out in 2017? I thought it was a little older than that.
2015, I believe.
15? Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. I mean, by the time everybody had watched it, everybody talked about it, everybody discussed it, and they're like, okay, what are we gonna do about it? Oh, we can opt out. Boom, Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'm trying to find when that movie came out, but yeah, it's the timing is about right. So in the movie, the guy that Christian Bale, Christian Bale played, I've always said this.
2015.
Maybe not him exactly, but I think it actually could be him. A guy like him that had a disdain, an emotional anger disdain for Wall Street and the current economic system and the banking system and the Fed Reserve. That's the person who Satoshi became. It had to be somebody that was emotionally attached. And here's the funny thing. Were you familiar with eGold?
I heard of it. I mean, it was one of the precursors to Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, eGold was phenomenal. It was jamming. It was part of the Liberty Project, and they were doing great. And it was doing phenomenal until they got shut down. They came in, shut down all their servers and everything. And I think what Bitcoin did was it took a lot of the code. I don't know if you remember eGold, but everything that eGold was really about, Bitcoin's core early stage code was everything that eGold was, except one major change, and that was it was decentralized, and that was the big change. And I think somebody that was involved in eGold maybe lost money because it was confiscated, and had just a big disdain for Wall Street. Somebody that was on a genius savant level, like the guy in The Big Short, who was, that guy was just genius savant. Like he saw things that were just, and his ability.
I mean, he comes on Bloomberg every once in a while too. I mean, he's still making doing financial analysis and stuff. But
the big thing he's on right now, right? Water. He thinks water is going to be the next gold. I don't know if you read some of his recent work.
Yeah, I mean, that was the ending to the movie, but I believe I heard him kind of clarify that on a few levels, but the idea of internet money, I mean, it's not a new concept. I mean, Milton Friedman, spoke about that way early on. It was just an idea of the proper execution, and even the methods that Satoshi used, I don't think were too incredibly groundbreaking. It was just the way that he put it together, and the fact that he himself was anonymous, and that's kind of the fact that I think that he was just the most successful in putting out the implementation, really. So
I think Satoshi had a little bit of Edward Snowden inside of him, where he knew that if he was going to be a part of this project, that from day one he needed his identity, his personal identity, anonymous. And if you think about it, look at what they did to the other Satoshi guy, the guy that's really not Satoshi, the Nakamoto Satoshi guy. When they came out with that hatchet job of an article, I think it was Newsweek, McGrath, right. Some girl
named Dorian Nakamoto, right?
Yeah, Dorian Nakamoto. You know, here the media is so corrupt. She went on very bad information, created this whole article about him, and literally pointed all the information that he was Satoshi Nakamoto. Then he had like people, you know, death threatening him because they're like, "Hey, I want your 1,000,000 Bitcoins." I think that was like a really good example of why Satoshi kept his identity private, is because he probably would have been a target for assassination or kidnapping. Or he might,
or the government could have shut him down. I mean, he was right to be anonymous and to keep his identity hidden. I mean, that was the smart move. And the more genius move was disappearing in 2013. I don't know how, you know, he even thought of that, or maybe he died. I have no idea. But his disappearance was even probably more significant than, you know, than just about anything else that he did. I mean, it was probably the best thing that he could have done, because then he was really able to put it into the hands of the community and prove that Bitcoin is a decentralized network.
Yeah, it's funny. He disappeared on the blink of an eye when I think it was Jeff Garzik told him that he'd agreed to go talk to the CIA or one of the government agencies. And I think Satoshi very quickly realized, well, fuck that. I'm getting the fuck out of here. Which is crazy.
like, nope.
And the crazy thing is, you know, Jeff Garzik was public about his association with Bitcoin, but I don't think he realized that there are some meetings you probably shouldn't take, and that was probably one of them.
Yeah, seriously.
And I'm probably sure that Satoshi even thought to himself, wait a second, if the CIA is requesting a meeting from Jeff, there's probably a high likelihood they've got some sort of mechanisms that are already tracking his emails and so on and so forth. So if I continue to communicate, it's only a matter of time before they start figuring out where I'm located.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if he would have started participating in those things, I mean, they could have found him.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you read Snowden's recent book that came out last year, the stuff that the government has from a surveillance standpoint is off the charts insane. I mean, it's amazing how much stuff the US government has developed over the last 10 years to spy on its own citizens, to a point where, I mean, they can turn on your monitor and watch what you're doing. Well, it's way beyond that now. It's super way beyond that. Like every iPhone has a government backdoor built into the actual chip, which is insane. And we're going down the conspiracy hole. I'd be shocked if Satoshi's not watching this live stream right now.
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's dead. That's not a conspiracy, Chris. They do have, they are monitoring your cell phone usage. And I mean, I don't have an iPhone. I have a Chinese phone. I'm not sure if that's better or worse. Honestly, I figure that your cell phone usage, you know, at least the Chinese government doesn't know who I am. And as long as I don't go to China, I don't really have any danger there. Whereas I go to America all the time, and I'd rather the U.S. government not be able to monitor me so closely if I have a choice about it.
Whatever happened with that secret phone that was a crypto ICO project in 2018? Remember the secret phone or the black phone?
Yeah, there's a lot of those. Yeah, I don't know.
Raised like 100 million.
You might be talking about Siren Labs.
Siren Labs, yeah. What was the name of their phone?
Moshe Hogeg.
Yeah.
He's yeah. I spoke with him a few times.
Did they ever launch, or I actually just?
I have no idea. I don't know. I haven't seen it on the shelves.
It's crazy.
Honestly.
you know, it's funny too because it had so much promise to it. I know that HTC, is it HTC that's doing the Exodus phone?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few crypto phones out there. I think there's one that Dash is giving away in South America. I believe Electronium is also has some kind of phone deal. Yeah, I mean, the idea of a crypto phone or having at least some kind of a secure wallet on the phone, which is separate or locked away from the internet, is a good idea. In the age of, here's the rule of thumb, Chris. If it's on the internet, it can be hacked. I'm not saying government or white hat, black hat, gray hat, I don't care. If it's on the internet, it can be hacked. By who, it doesn't matter. So that's why, you know, these little devices, they may seem obsolete, but you know.
Is that a Ledger Nano?
They are not. It's just a discount key. But there's no way to keep something secure if it's, you know, on your hard drive to a computer that is connected to the internet. So the same thing is with your phone. I mean, if it's on your phone, if it's on your phone's memory, a hacker can get access to it. So
wow, you want to hear something crazy?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say who this person was, but I was flying to Germany. This was 3 years ago, and he's a fairly big name in the crypto space. And we were flying out of New Jersey. I went first, and he was literally ticketing right behind me. And we were getting on a United flight going to Germany for a big trade show. And as I walked through the gating area where you show your QR code, your ticket pass, there were two, I want to say they were brown black uniforms. I don't know what agency they were with, but two sets of armed personnel literally in between the ticket and the ramp. And I looked at it and I'm like, what the fuck? And then they just like keep going. And as soon as I kept going, they actually grabbed the person behind me, took him aside, took his laptop, his iPhone, and said, listen, you better change things somewhere along the lines or we're going to come after you. Literally, as I was seated, he was coming on the plane. His face was all white. That was the biggest experience that I ever realized on how quickly your life can be taken apart by them grabbing and confiscating all your electronics.
Yeah,
having a Bitcoin wallet on your phone, it doesn't do you any good if they take away your phone. No phone, no wallet.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, look, if you're anticipating something like that, I mean, there are things that you can do about it. I mean, you know, people in Venezuela have found that, you know, you can memorize a seed or something like that, and there's no way that, you know, any government can confiscate it. So, I mean, it really depends under what kind of scrutiny you are and what level you're anticipating, you know, people coming after you. I mean, how much you're holding, right? And what's it worth to you? I mean, I believe, you know, Edward Snowden was, he explained it very well. That you know, any, you know, you got to kind of be one step ahead, but it really it's only worthwhile depending on what it is that you have to hide, I suppose.
True, but at the end of the day too, there's some people in crypto that haven't. It's funny. There's a hardcore group of people in crypto that like to have their privacy and anonymity and don't really talk a lot. And then there's this whole group of people in crypto that just talk way too much. I'm not going to blame him for anything, but when in 2017, when Michael Turpin was going around talking about how much he made in crypto, he literally made himself a target. And I want to say he got hacked by a kid. It's a case that I think he won like a $75 million lawsuit against them, but the kids, you know, got no money to give him back. And he literally, he followed Turpin to Consensus, and I literally bumped into Mike that day as his phone was literally no longer working.
Wow.
In full panic mode. And it was, I don't know if you read the story, but this kid targeted Mike. He literally followed him to his hotel room. They somehow, you know, SIM swapped his phone, and they got access within less than 15 minutes to all of his accounts and emptied them out.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's also another good story. Don't keep your crypto on a exchange. That's probably not a good idea.
Yeah, I think that's like the number one rule as far as cryptos are concerned. I mean, like you've got to you got if you are custodying them with somebody else, you got to really trust that person or institution.
Yeah, I'm kind of along the lines of Satoshi. I trust nobody ever. I think trust is one of those things that you can give to people after you've done 6 verifications on them.
Well, I tend to trust people in general. I mean, especially in business dealings. I mean, sometimes you have to.
Well, in business dealings you have to, but when you trust somebody with your crypto, like look at Cripsy, the guy Paul. I think he's actually hiding in China. I heard he actually moved to China and evaded the law that way. Remember Paul from Cripsy?
I don't know who that is.
He was a guy in Florida. He ended up saying that he got hacked, but in reality he didn't.
Right.
On an exchange, it was actually called Cripsy. I don't know, it was back in the old days. But he skedaddled with, I want to say, $80 million worth of crypto. Left Florida, left his wife. His wife had to give up the houses that they had. They had a bunch of houses, a bunch of cars.
Insane.
So yeah,
Wow.
I mean, you know, it's kind of crazy when you know, people attack Binance, but for as much as they attack them, Binance has been from day one run with a high level of character and integrity.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, I've got a few gripes with Binance, no doubt.
You could find gripes with anybody, but I think overall
Yeah.
they've given people a trusted third party.
Well, what they've given people is a casino, honestly. Yeah. I mean, and okay, you know, like I don't go to, you know, Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas and you go, hey, where's the CEO? I want to thank him for providing this wonderful casino. Honestly, I just go, okay, yeah, I guess that guy's cool. He did a good job and he's making a lot of money. Honestly, he's playing the capitalism game really well. And that's how I see CZ as well. I mean, I don't necessarily feel that he's like the most trustworthy guy on the planet. I mean, he seems like a cool guy and everything. You know, I'm glad about the, you know, charity initiatives that they've done and stuff like that. But to be perfectly frank, I mean, what they've done, especially with, you know, adding 100 times plus leverage, I think that that's kind of proof enough that they don't necessarily have any kind of altruistic motives here, but that they are capitalists at the end of the day and they're trying to make money. Because if you are trying to help your clients, you don't give them that much leverage. I mean, that much leverage, and especially
that kind of leverage is insane. Like if you think about it,
for a retail client, that's a death sentence. What it is you're giving somebody enough rope to hang themselves. You're giving them the rope, you're giving them the bills, you're giving them a gun, and then you start filling their head with all kind of thoughts and locking them in the room. So no, I don't think so. And then the acquisition of CoinMarketCap, I thought was just downright dirty. I mean, I don't know what went on behind the scenes there. The amount of money that exchanged hands was ludicrous. But further to that, I mean, there isn't any reason.
Are you talking about the 400 million that they supposedly paid?
Yes.
Coin? I always thought to myself,
yes.
How was CoinMarketCap worth 400 million? I think that number may be
it may be according to the amount of traffic that they get. I mean, at one point, you know, CoinMarketCap was ranked on Alexa's site ranking as like number 7 in the world or something like that. So
at one point, but not recently. Not
right. No, not recent. No, that's true. But the amount of traffic that the website sees is insane, and they get a lot of repeat users. So there is a case for that kind of valuation. However, the only reason that a company like Binance would pay for it would be to be able to control the rankings, because people use CoinMarketCap to find a broker. And as much as, you know, CZ wants to tell you that they're going to be unbiased in the way that they run the rankings on CoinMarketCap, it doesn't make any sense to me, because you know, even one of the first algorithm adjustments that they made put Binance right at the top. And they could have made it was like they decided to default to make the default sorting by website traffic, which and there was no reason to do it by website traffic. It was like it's such an arbitrary way to rank exchanges. But it put Binance at the top, and I believe that that's, you know, that's why it did it. I mean, but in any case, the acquisition is unethical, as you know, as ethics go. You don't own a website that's supposed to rank exchanges if you are an exchange. It's basically gaming the system. And there's no way to claim that you are running that website unbiased. It just doesn't work out. The numbers don't add up.
Well, the interesting news recently was that the whole CoinMarketCap upper management team is adios already anyhow. So it's basically a Binance product now entirely.
Of course it is. I mean, they own it. even if the owners are still there, I mean, they're still getting paid, right? But it doesn't matter at this point. It is what it is. I've never had an account on Binance, simply because I've never ever. I've never logged in. I've never had a login for Binance. I never needed it. I mean, you know, I participated in a few ICOs back in 2017, but generally at that point we were going directly to the website of the ICO and, you know, making the transfer there. I was working in eToro back then. It's never really needed another exchange. I used Shapeshift a lot in the beginning because it was really smooth. It was really slick, and it was anonymous.
And back in the day, Shapeshift was awesome. Like,
yeah,
when you could use it without all the KYC, they had some really good code.
Yeah. So that was I remember when they came out with the DAO offering on Ethereum, and then I had to figure out. I had to take my Bitcoin and exchange it for Ethereum, and then buy the DAO tokens, and then like a year later, somebody tells me, "Hey, by the way, you know, they saved your money." I wasn't watching the whole, you know, debate between Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. I was doing my fintech analysis and you know, traditional markets, and then so he goes, "Oh yeah, you can get your money back." I'm like, "Oh really?" So then I figured out, I logged in, and then I got my Ethereum, and I got my Ethereum Classic, and just the fact that I hadn't touched it in that long, like it had appreciated like probably about 50 or 100x.
Wait a second. What? Wait a second. I've never heard this. What are you talking about?
So you know about the DAO, right?
Yeah, I remember the DAO, and the guy got 60 million in Ether, and he actually, it wasn't a hack. He actually just used the code the way it was written.
Apparently, yes. And so at the time, somebody goes, "Oh, you were hacked." And I'm like, "Oh, fuck it, I lost my money," right? And then, you know, there was this whole debate. Should we fork Ethereum? Should we not fork Ethereum? Ethereum Classic was born, and Ethereum continued. And then like a year or two later, like I wasn't watching the debate. I didn't know about it even. I was like, you know, I was somewhere else. I was watching the traditional markets at the time. I kind of just wrote it off as a loss. And then somebody goes, "Oh yeah, you can get your tokens back." And then, you know, I log in and I say, "Okay, I got Ethereum, and I got Ethereum Classic." And then in that time frame.
Wait a second. Where did you log in to do this? This is interesting. I've never heard this before.
I think it was my Ethereum wallet, or wherever I was holding the Ethereum to begin with.
So you sent Ethereum to the DAO, right?
Yes, correct.
And then how did you get your Ethereum back when the DAO got hacked?
Well, that was what the fork was all about.
Okay, so yeah. Okay, so that is true. That is true.
That's what the fork was there for. It was there to give me as an investor, my money back. Right. And it did. Like it just took me like a year or two from the time that they did the fork, or from the time that the hack happened, until I logged back in and saw that the money was there. Not only, yeah, and then I logged in to Ethereum Classic, and I had money there as well, which I suppose was of the balance that was not invested in the DAO. I don't really know.
Wow, what an interesting surprise. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
So history.
So let's talk a little bit about sushi. Interesting situation then. You've got a guy, swore that he was a good guy, in 7 days built or forked Uniswap, built SushiSwap.
Right.
I want to say got like $300 million investment, and then realized,
no
wait
idea
a
what the
second.
numbers are.
Yeah, they were ridiculously large in a short window of time.
Right.
And then realized, well, wait a second, I could leave right now after 7 days with about 15 mil. It's interesting from a standpoint of just code, how Uniswap is losing all this traffic now to even the new SushiSwap, which is, I think on, I want to say it's on Serum, isn't it? Isn't it now trading on Serum?
I have no idea, man. Honestly, that whole world is pretty foreign to me. There are 2 analysts on my team that specialize in DeFi. Well, I suppose 3. But honestly, I've never bought it or traded anything on DeFi. I've never touched the world itself, and just watching it from.
It's interesting what's happening. The whole concept of staking a coin instead of buying a coin, and then getting yields against that. I mean, it's just it's changing.
I'm skeptical, Chris. I'm skeptical about this. You should know I'm quite skeptical, because if I have Bitcoin, I mean, why would I want to lock up my Bitcoin in order? Well, if I have 1 Bitcoin, why would I want to lock up my Bitcoin in order to borrow half a Bitcoin and then pay interest on the half a Bitcoin? I already own that Bitcoin.
Yeah, well,
I don't get it.
That's not the yield farming that's happening in a lot of these DeFi projects. So, for example, you take Ether and you buy a token. Well, they're staking that token instead of selling it to you, and you're now able to get the token, but you're also getting yields for holding that token against the project's performance. So you're
those yields are paid out presumably in a new token, right?
No, in the same token. So if you get, let's say you stake and get sushi tokens, $sushi, your yields are paid in sushi.
Right. Okay. So I'm getting okay. So magic internet money, and I'm putting it in a box, and I get more magic internet money.
And on top of that magic internet money, you're getting daily interest or yield, as they call it.
And where does that come from?
The performance of the platform that you're funding. So, for example, in this case, it's SushiSwap, the decentralized exchange.
It seems a bit like circular logic to me.
It is
I gotta say,
insane logic. Like the math's insane, and the yields. I mean, when you see yields at 33,000% APY, that shit's like not sustainable.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I always saw one was 4 billion% on the kimchi token at one point.
Kimchi. Yeah. Well, here's the funny thing. I saw a project last night hit me up. It's called Curry Swap. They're forking Uniswap again, and they're coming out with Curry Swap. Like, how many times can you fork a decentralized exchange? And when does the fork actually become bad because the original code upgrades?
The first one. The first time. Honestly, I mean, we saw it with it's all kind of a microcosm of the original sin, which was Bitcoin Cash, right?
Oh,
I mean, once the people had realized that you can fork in order to make more money out of what you already have, I mean, the gig was up, right? I mean, it was only 2 or 3 more forks on Bitcoin before people go, okay, let me fork other things, and so you got something like Uniswap, and people start forking that. Like, why not? And as long as people are, but the game, right, is that you need to be able to follow the hype train and you need to be in front of the hype train, because if you're not, and if you fall behind on the hype train, you're going to lose your money.
You never want to be in the caboose. The caboose is a bad place to be. do not be the
the
last
conductor
person
sleeps in the caboose, my friend. But the idea here is that, and this is really goes back to the heart. Look, I'm an investor and a trader by heart, and that's what I've been doing my whole life. And when I look at an investment, I want to think about what kind of value is being created by my investment. When I take $1,000 or $100,000 or whatever it is, and I invest it somewhere, I want to know what is happening, what that is growing, right? What is the money doing in order to make the world a better place, in order to increase the value of the investment that I've made, and in order to, if I'm investing in a company, well, I know what the money's going to do, right? If I'm buying the shares in Amazon, whether they be overpriced or not, I know that I'm giving money to Amazon so that they'll be able to increase their service and, reach other people, go to other countries, and, create something of value. When a bank issues a loan, right, to a person, they created money out of nowhere, but the bank is still taking the risk because the person might not pay them back. But the bank, the person is then taking that money, and either he's buying a house or he's opening a business or whatever he's doing with that money, he's creating something of value, right? And this is what's missing for me in the whole DeFi equation, is where's the value that's being created? Because all I see is a bunch of people moving money around, and whoever's the best at guessing which one is going to be hyped best, he's going to make the most money, and whoever gets, left behind in the caboose, or the guy from Sushi Swap was able to extract, as you mentioned, multiple millions of dollars. He did a good job, and the person who was just sitting there with their sushi tokens got dumped on.
Well, luckily, Sushi Swap got taken over, and they're, the tokens aren't worth nothing. They've actually been. I actually think the project's in better hands now than it was when the original developer was in charge.
It's all, one way or the other. I'm using this as an example, but the idea here that I'm trying to convey is that this is what's missing. It's a castle built on a cloud, right? And it's an interesting idea to have a castle built on a cloud, and if you can do it, I would be very amazed. And I believe in Minecraft you can build a castle on a cloud without a problem. But here,
Minecraft,
here on Earth, is very difficult to build. And if it ends up happening, I think that would be fantastic. And I think that the idea that so much capital is being allocated towards this sector of the market, what is it, like almost $10 billion? I
was going to say the numbers are just staggering.
And it keeps growing.
Well, here's the crazy part. It's not only that it's 10 billion, it's 10 billion in a window of like 45 days.
Right. Yeah. I've been watching, and no, the numbers have always been on this. Like,
here's the one thing that I find interesting. So the whole DeFi model, and the way that you can basically decentralize a platform and let the platform pay its token holders rather than have a corporation that has shareholders. That model, I think, has promise. And here's one thing that I think it'll actually disrupt the heck out of. There's a project that's being built right now called Espresso, and it's decentralizing the lotteries. Are you familiar with lotteries, like state-owned lotteries?
I've played the lottery before.
Okay. So if you think about it, lottery, for example, the state of Illinois has a lottery. You buy a $1 lottery ticket, 50 cents goes to the pool, 50 cents goes to the state. However they use that 50 cents is up to them.
Right.
Now, somebody wins the lottery, whatever, 100 million, 50 million, whatever the number is. Well, they don't get to keep that. If they say, hey, I want one lump payout, the state and the government says, well, we're going to tax you 50% of your earnings as it's actually more than the capital gains on a stock. I think it's like 50%. So the lottery system itself is very corrupt. It's very broken. And that's one financial sector that I think crypto is going to disrupt in a huge way. And DeFi or DLO, which is what you're going to hear a lot of term around, decentralized lottery. Wait till you see decentralized lottery go on a global basis where everybody in the world can participate. You're going to see lottery payouts and pools in the, I'm not kidding you, you're going to see it in the billions.
I wouldn't doubt it, and I think that crypto and I'm not trying to cast a shade across crypto and the world of decentralization. I think that in general is a good thing. But I mean, there's and especially the idea of tokenization, and I think that tokenization is going to pick up in a very big way. I mean, I believe in a year or two, the entire regulatory landscape will be completely overhauled and across both the United States and Europe, to the point where people who want to, and it's already kind of starting to happen, people who want to raise capital for a business are not going to go to a regular underwriter like Goldman Sachs to do an IPO, but rather they'll go to somebody who knows a bit about crypto, and they'll raise money directly, for their project through a tokenized digital asset offering. And I think that this idea is, I mean, there's no doubt that digital assets are far superior to the traditional stocks and shares that people are holding. I mean, people don't hold the certificates in the safe anymore, right? I mean, it's all digital anyways.
Exactly.
But when it's being held with a central party, I mean, it's open for corruption and manipulation. And that central party, I mean, he has every incentive to hike the commissions as much as he possibly can, and not just the commissions and the arbitrage and everything. They're getting, they're double dipping, triple dipping, quadruple dipping, and nobody can tell them no, because who else are you going to go to? The guy down the street, the guy, there's maybe 3 or 4 good options to do an IPO, and then if and they're all talking to each other. So kind of a cartel as far as capital formation is concerned. So the idea that this entire system is, I believe that it's only a matter of time before it is displaced, because people aren't foolish anymore, and already companies aren't necessarily going to an underwriter and they're now doing direct listings. They say we have shares.
Yeah, now they're doing SPACs. I mean, SPACs are the more popular than IPOs.
Yeah, I mean, SPACs are a different story altogether, but I'm talking about like a startup, let's say, that's reached a phase where he wants to trade his shares publicly, right? You have a public company and you have a private company, right? A private company has, let's say they have 1 million shares, right? And then they send them out to their employees. The founders have some shares, but they're not traded in a marketplace, right? They're just held, in a spreadsheet. But then those founders want to sell those shares. They want to cash out. And the investors have an interest because they want to buy those shares because they believe that the company is going to continue to grow. So that's what happens in an IPO. The company goes, okay, we have these private shares. We're taking them to a public offering. So that's an initial public offering. So what happens is you need to go to an underwriter like JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs, and they issue some new shares and they send them to the public. And then the founders can sell off some of their shares as well, because now those shares are traded publicly. But they're not doing that as much right now. At the moment, we've seen a move towards direct listings, which means we're not going to use an underwriter to create new shares, but rather we're just going to sell off some of the shares that we have into the market publicly. So you're basically cutting out the underwriter when you do that.
Which that's a good thing, by the way.
What's that?
Underwriters are just, they're literally middlemen that are just affecting everything to the worst.
Exactly. So there's no doubt in my mind that this whole thing is going to be flipped on its head the whole month.
I couldn't agree with you more. There's an interesting project out of Israel called INX. Have you any thoughts on that? They've supposedly done something interesting. I find the project itself pretty interesting from a standpoint of how the hell are you going to raise $130 million for something that's not even live?
Well, EOS raised what, 4 billion? So 100 million is pocket change compared to that.
That is true, but the whole EOS thing was kind of weird because even though they raised 4 billion, some people got some of that kicked back to them.
Yeah, some people say that they kept taking the same money and investing it over and over again. I have no idea what the exact figures are, but I know that 10x, for example, raised $100 million in the ICO market in 2017, and they did absolutely nothing. They did fuck all. They had a demo of using their credit card system, and I don't know. Are they even still around?
Didn't 10x become what's it called? Well, they operate out of crypto.com, but they're actually doing pretty good. They've got a good business model.
They fucking better, Chris, with $100 million. If you can't run a company, you better commit suicide. Honestly, that's just a hell of a lot.
The phone company, Sirius Labs or Serum Labs, like they raised over 100 million and they never delivered even a phone. I mean, how hard is it? It's crazy. How hard is it to actually deliver a box with a phone in it?
Seriously,
if you can't do that with $120 million, like that's just bad leadership. You know, somebody bought too many Lamborghinis.
Yeah, probably.
And you know what bothers me a lot about the whole crypto space is, why did Lambos become such a big deal? Like, aren't they aware? There's also Ferrari. Enzo Ferrari is the world-class sports car you could ever get. Why didn't we just go straight to Ferrari instead of Lambos?
Why did we gravitate towards the moon, man? I mean, why not like to Mars or Jupiter or something? Seriously.
Well, I will say
these are memes, man. I mean, why is Pepe the Frog so popular? I have no idea.
By the way, just so we correct anybody that's been messaging, Trump is not sponsoring this talk. Somebody keeps messaging.
We got some crazies in the chat.
No, there's a big Trump ad on your screen, and they're like, "What is Trump sponsoring this?" I'm like,
"Oh no, that's just my Twitter feed. I hadn't refreshed it in a while."
Exactly. There we go. We got new sponsors. that dog is our new sponsor.
Oh, look at that.
He's back.
Who's that? Glenn Greenwald is now our sponsor.
Glenn's pretty good. I like Glenn. Glenn's
pretty good. I'm following him, so yeah. Yeah,
Glenn's good. I like a lot of what it's. Have you been following the stuff that's going on in London with who's the guy that's they're trying to extradite? Assange, Julian Assange.
Oh, what's up with him? He was stuck in a hole in the Ecuador consulate for a while.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Didn't they move him?
Huh?
Didn't they move him at some point? I don't.
They did, and now they're trying to extradite him to the States. And the legal hearing that they're having is literally the most unethical, unfair. Like they only let his witnesses talk for 30 minutes, but they can get cross-examined for an unlimited amount of time. He has to be in this little plastic box. I mean, he hasn't even been able to talk to his lawyers for 6 months. It's literally like a kangaroo. It's the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen in my life. Like the things that they're doing to Julian Assange and Snowden are things that should really be outraging the media, but the media doesn't say anything about either one of those. And the funny thing is, those two are part of the media in some ways.
Yeah, that is the funny part, isn't it? The media doesn't realize that it could be them one day, reporting on, corruption or whatever, and then all of a sudden, yeah, but I suppose media has always been a bit crazy, and they've been influencing politics and law since we were children, right?
A lot more lately, though. Like, it's crazy when you see how biased they are in many instances towards one side versus the other. It's almost eerie in the way the media is controlled by a certain group of people. Like, it's crazy.
Right. They hit the refresh because we don't want somebody thinking
Hey, there's Jack.
Julian is.
Here's another crazy question. Twitter announced today that even on the end of the election of November 3rd, they're going to censor Trump if he announces that he won the election until all the votes are counted. How crazy is that?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I don't know, man. The fact that Twitter is censoring anybody is a bit is not a good thing in my view. Look, I mean, and I don't want to, I don't want to be like weighing in on politics too much here. I mean, it's not really what I do. I mean, I'm an investor and portfolio manager. So, I mean,
how big's your portfolio? Are you just managing your own portfolio or other people?
So a few different things right now. I have an account on eToro, which has reached $500,000 under management. I just announced through my newsletter yesterday that we're starting a new fund. We need to reach a soft commitment of around $500,000, and then we get it off the ground. So far, so good. I mean, the response has been pretty incredible from my readers. I mean, the people that read every day on my newsletter, and they're the ones who are most interested, of course. And just within the first 24 hours, we've already managed to get soft commitments for about 15% of it. So, look, I don't want to, I see too many exchanges and brokers out there. I mean, it's not just crypto. Since I've been in the FX market, like I remember the first job that I got at a broker back in 2008, and seeing some of the statistics was like less than 1% of people actually make money in the market. So what I want to do is at least, use the power of financial technology and innovation to build something that's going to bring value to people. And there are those type of services, but the problem is that, to access them, you generally have to have a very large investment. And I want to kind of create a service where people with, $5,000 or $10,000 can make that investment, and we can invest in things that are, or that they, yeah. Sorry.
Early stage where you get in at the premium levels. Everything in any investment is when you enter and when you exit.
Basically, yes. The idea here is to have several different portfolios, and people can kind of choose their own allocation. So the portfolios will surround or will be on different narratives. So for example, we have the narrative of central banks printing money, the printer goes burr, right? And in that portfolio, we have hard assets like gold and Bitcoin, silver, stock indexes.
Wow, it's so crazy. Bitcoin is considered a hard asset like gold now. That's so amazing. Think about how long that's taken just for that to happen.
The process is accelerating, my friend. I mean, Bitcoin becomes more like more of a. I mean, just think about price, and I want to make a point here about Bitcoin and what's happened over, because I tweet out all the time, Bitcoin, 10K by the end of the day, right? 10K by the end of the day. I do that tweet quite often. The point that I'm trying to make with this here is this dotted green line, right? That's 10K, right? And here is Bitcoin over the last, 3 years, right? Look how often that line is triggered, right? It's like probably like the only level that I would say is more common in this time frame would be like 9,500, right? Which has been triggered probably more than 10K. So, and the fact, and here's the specific point. We're in the middle of a ferocious risk-on rally, right? We're seeing Tesla go up 10% a day on a regular basis. Chainlink, which I don't understand why in the world anybody would gravitate towards this specific one.
Well,
And
Chainlink's insane because everyone's calling Chainlink a DeFi project when in reality it's not.
I don't think anybody understands. I think that most of the investors don't really understand what they're getting into, but they realize that there's money to be made here, and that's why they're piling into it. And it's basically a pump and dump, and I can't understand. I mean, the token economics are a bit weird to me. The fact that you need to continue to, it's basically an API where APIs do, transactions for free, but you have to pay for the transactions. And I don't understand why anybody from a developer's point of view who has a budget, who's working on a budget, would want to do that. And then, what happens if the price of the token starts falling, right? Or God forbid it should start to rise, your production costs go through the roof. And if it falls, then your holdings go through the roof, through the floor.
Chainlink is the pure community pump and dump of 2020.
In any case, the point I'm trying to make here is that throughout all of this, it's Bitcoin that's remained remarkably stable. What's the price of Bitcoin? It's $10,000, right? It's been $10,000. It was $10,000 in July of 2019. It was $10,000 in February of 2020, right? And before the whole thing, and then it was, back in May, it got back to $10,000, and $10,000 is incredibly significant because it's a nice round number, right?
I'm actually surprised with
very quick conversions.
I'm surprised with all the money printing and all the economic maneuvering that's been happening in the United States with the US dollar. I'm actually shocked that Bitcoin hasn't benefited much more.
Yeah, I think that, so people kind of overstate, I think, the effects of quantitative easing, and they are certainly more psychological than practical. Quantitative easing is a process for the central bank to swap out basically treasuries for cash that gets locked into the system. They're not actually creating money, but what they're doing is they're inflating their balance sheet. What ends up happening is that people jump onto this kind of narrative, and it ends up pushing prices up, and people talk about asset inflation and stuff like that. So, yes, on the one hand, the question is, why haven't people gravitated towards, and used Bitcoin as the narrative for that? But I think that it's rather arbitrary, because what people are doing is they're trying to chase momentum, and they've basically given up on trying to figure out what the actual value for something should be, and they simply, in place of that, say, okay, something is moving, therefore I'm going to be able to pawn it off on somebody else for a greater value later on. This is a classic, the market has turned into the greater fool theory, and that greater fool theory was one that, people who were against Bitcoin were saying Bitcoin is the greater fool theory. Well, now the stock market has turned into that.
Yeah.
Right? Now, Apple and Amazon and Tesla and Netflix and Google and all of those fun names that, household names, that they're all trading well above what the shares should actually be worth according to what you own from the company. Like, not only well above what they should be worth according to what the company is worth today, but they're trading well above what the company should be worth in 10 or 20 years from now, which doesn't make any sense, because people don't really have that kind of time horizon. People are not buying Apple right now because they think that in 20 years from now it's going to grow. They're buying it because they think that, next week they're going to be able to get a better price for it. And in this market, they might be right. So basically what we see is that momentum takes over. And this is really the post-COVID, market has accelerated, like many other things that COVID-19 has accelerated, is this play towards momentum, where people have basically taken the book, they throw it out the window about evaluation and what's going to happen in the future, and they say, okay, let's figure out a turnover. So right, like in 2007, the most popular business was flipping houses, right? You buy a house, you put a little bit of an investment into fixing it up, you put it back on the market, and we had like a whole pop culture of house flipping. And now we have that in the stock market, and it's pretty scary. All right, I gotta go.
Where can people find you? You want to send me some links and I'll put them under the video?
quantumeconomics.io.
Okay.
Sign up for the newsletter. That's the best way. Or
Cool.
Catch me on Twitter or LinkedIn.
Send me the links you want posted. We'll get it up there. I appreciate your time. I think what you're doing is great value. You give people an even keel understanding of what's happening in the marketplace.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
Peace out, Maddie.
Bye-bye.